we're missing this. I think that maybe some focus should start, we should start focusing on this thing. I think that by doing so, we could start to allocate funds properly, not into these, into a lot of these ventures that we have been doing to help, initiate more poverty. The housing that we have put up in this city has actually created a bigger rift in the socioeconomic classes. When you create a bigger rental community, and I've said this, I don't know how many times, you deny people the ability to create equity. Equity is what is the biggest base on a successful community, a successful economics. This whole renters thing since 2017 has been, it got way out of hand. I think that we need representation for renters. We need representation for for those people living in poverty. I'd like to be that person. I know what it is to live in poverty. I know what it is, to have a landlord want to kick you out so that they can raise the rent price in that place to some, by 35%. I know what it's like to have to go to the food bank. I know what it's like to try and get help from Bragg for certain issues. I don't know if any of you know what it's like, but it's not a fun thing to do. I mean, but yeah. So
you swallow your pride and you do it.
Yeah, you do. You have to.
I know what you're talking about, Josh.
Pull up your bootstraps and hope that you have bootstraps in the first place to be able to do it.
Yeah.
So I just think that when it comes to the way you've been doing economics, we need to take a step back and start focusing on strengthening our community. Thank you.
Thank you, Josh. Is there anyone else?
Hello, City Council. Jeff and Diana King, longtime residents of Logan. Thanks for giving us the opportunity to say a few words. And I imagine it sometimes seems like a thankless job that you have. But no, we are grateful for all that you do for the city. With that said, let me add one more thing to your bucket. The topic that we're here to address is, and request further information about, is with respect to the Community Recreation Center. We understand that the city and the school district have had a long-standing agreement for approaching 50 years to share this resource. I think there's maybe a little bit of misunderstanding in the public about that agreement. I think some people understand that agreement expires after 50 years. I don't know if that's true. My understanding is it's been in place for 50 years, but there's no set expiration or end date. So if that's not correct, maybe you can clarify for us. The mission and objective of the Rec Center is to enhance the educational, fitness, and recreational opportunities for the citizens of Logan and the students of Logan High School. Although there seem to be very limited public statements and general awareness of specifics, we understand that some of the wheels have been put in motion to discuss changing the terms of the agreement, beginning July 1st, significantly reducing public access to the Rec Center, and eventually, after 3 years, if what we've heard is correct, completely eliminating general public access to the Rec Center and 100% interest held by the school district. We believe or think that any long-standing agreement like this one that's been in place for 50 years can continue if the parties agree to it. I don't, because there's no, unless we're wrong, there's nothing that ends that agreement. And it seems like an agreement that's been in place that long must be fairly good if it's been in place for 50 years. So those two parties are the city and the school district. whose leadership represent the citizens of Logan who basically are under the auspices of both of those entities. So a few related comments, questions. Is there any reason the current agreement cannot continue to be, or cannot be made available and visible to the public? I don't know that it is. Has there been any attempt by the city or the school district to continue to extend the agreement? It seems to us that the potential changes of this magnitude should have input from the residents and from the city council. I don't know if the city council has weighed in on this. I don't think the residents have had the opportunity to weigh in on it. To our knowledge, there's been no opportunity for either the council or the residents to weigh in. Not that the council needs to weigh in on every issue, but it seems like this issue is of significance that there should be some input from the council. There's been a lot of talk in recent federal elections about government efficiency. I think this agreement that stood for 50 years is a pretty good example of government efficiency. I think the city and the school district have done a pretty good job of making this resource available and efficient use of the resource to the citizens of Logan and the students at Logan High. I'm sure that behind the scenes there's a lot more hiccups and bumps in the road to keep it all managed and schedules, try to deconflict schedules and that sort of thing. So I'm sure there's a lot of hiccups. In summary, we don't believe it's in the best interest of the citizens of Logan to change the terms of this agreement without something else in place. Advocating the status quo may not always be a popular thing, but it seems like the status quo might be the right thing right now, since there's nothing to replace the resource. So we're in favor of keeping it open to the public in the same way it has been. Maybe do a cost analysis if one hasn't been done. In 2024, there were over 104,000 patrons that attended the rec center. That's not counting youth sports. That's not counting aerobics. And that's more than 4 times the number of patrons that went to the city library in their last report. So it seems like there's demand. It seems like the citizens care about it. So thanks for the opportunity to express our interest in this topic.
Thank you. Mayor, would you care to say anything about the rec center?
You know, again, I think I'll respond, to the Kings. As you know, we did have discussions with council, and, part of it was based on the fact that the high school they have 2 additional sanctioned sports, they have additional needs. And again, the patron count isn't necessarily distinct patrons, it's the number of uses that people come through. Same with the library. So, but again, it just, many of the programs we have, over 50% of the users were Cache County residents rather than Logan City residents. And so our strategy is to really try and work with the county to encourage them to perhaps look at a rec center for the entire county. The city actually contributed some money towards the study, the feasibility study that's going on, as did North Logan. I know, Nibley is very interested as well. So there are a number of communities that, have expressed an interest in that. So we're encouraging the county to take a look at that. And again, I invite them to also encourage the county council members that are the Logan reps, and I'll send you a list of those names there. But again, it's one of those, it has worked for a long time, but over 50 years, the needs have changed. And one of the challenges is when we started 49 years ago, you didn't have to separate private patrons from the students, and now there is, you have to keep them separate, which adds to the challenges. So again, as you know, we gave it, some thought, and it's not something we take lightly, but we did move in this direction. So, but I'll send you I'll email you some additional information.
Does that mean the agreement's in place at this point, or is still being negotiated?
We have negotiated an ending date, and we have a memorandum of understanding as to how that will happen. So.
And I can't remember for sure, but it seems like we've had public hearings on this. I know we've had multiple times during the budget process where we've talked about it at least 3 years in advance. I know the school district has also given presentations to the council. It was a long process we went through to decide, okay, the school district needs to take over. The school was asking for more and more time to where there wasn't any time for the citizens to utilize the facility, or there wasn't enough time. But yet the city was having to contribute. And so it has worked extremely well for 50 years, but it hasn't worked well for the last 15.
And we've had a good relationship with the school district, and again, we've worked together and tried to cobble it together and do the best we can. But again, we came to the conclusion that we kind of needed to go our separate ways there, so.
And it was a request of the school district that they take over.
The school district wanted to take over.
Probably 3 years ago, maybe.
I think it was at least 3 years ago. I remember we talked about it.
I just looked, 22 is when we started talking about it as the city council.
So has the council weighed in on this decision?
Yeah, we started talking about it, and it's been on our agenda since 22 at various meetings. I just pulled up some emails to see when we first started addressing it.
So,
Council members are on board with the direction the city's moving in.
We don't really have a choice.
so I think so we don't get into a long discussion about it right now. I would ask that you correspond with the mayor and talk with her about how the process went. Because I think that if I remember correctly, there are some parts of the agreement with respect to who owns what that was also a part of the dissolution. So it's more complicated than just a simple agreement between the city and the school district. So if you would correspond with the mayor, I would really appreciate it. Thank you. Is there anyone else who has anything they'd like to say? If not, we'll close that public portion of the meeting, and we'll move now to the mayor and staff reports.
Thank you. Tonight, item 6A, we'd like to ratify Tyler Richards as the director of the environmental department. He's been offered that position, and again, department heads serve with the ratification of the city council. So Tyler, if you would stand up, please. I think the council members all know you well, but
He even has a tie on today.
and he has been serving as the assistant director for some time, and we appreciate his willingness to move into the director position and would like to ask his ratification by the council members.
I would move ratification.
I'll second that.
It's been moved and seconded. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
It's unanimous. You're it.
Thank you. Do you want to say anything to us, Tyler? Like any comments? Like,
I told him he could come every week, every time we have a meeting.
That sounds fun.
Lisa's always been here every day up until midnight when our meetings. Ha ha.
Yeah, for sure, yes. No, he still left a great legacy. Those are big shoes to fill, but hopefully we can do it. It's a good industry, and the best part about it is if you do your job well, no one knows about you because the garbage went away and the sewage went by. It's ideal.
Perfect.
And I just returned from a trip to a foreign country where they don't have garbage collection and they don't have landfills, and literally there was sewer running down the streets. And so I came back with a renewed appreciation for our environmental department. So thank you. The second item we have, 6B, is Conrad Lee has agreed to serve on our golf course advisory board. So I'd like to present his name to the council for ratification for the golf course board.
I'll move for ratification.
Do we need to know his handicap before we ratify?
Yes,
Is that
I do,
important?
actually.
I'll second that. I'm kidding, I'm sorry.
All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you. That's all I have tonight.
We'll move now to council business. Planning Commission update. Last Planning Commission, this is one of those rare months where The third Tuesday and the fourth Thursday are in the same week. So it's pretty fun.
Explain that again, please.
So it's the third Tuesday and the fourth Thursday. So Planning Commission met 2 weeks ago on Thursday, and they approved 2 projects. One of them is Latitude 41, which is a mixed-use development that will be by the Y on the east side, the Providence Road side of the Y. There'll be 109 units in 2 buildings and a 6,000-foot retail restaurant space.
Is where the pool was going to go?
Yeah, where the pool was going to go.
Okay.
Yeah.
Just to get my bearings on the
Yep.
location. Okay.
And I did ask the question about walkability and access across the highway and things like that, and they are planning to match up with the crosswalks that already exist so that people have that access to get across to some of the restaurants and things across the way. And the other item that was approved was a small housing development that is going to go on First West. It is a new partnership between developer and city to provide some ownership opportunity for
Moderate income house.
moderate income housing, but it's specifically geared toward local workers, isn't it?
We haven't decided
Workforce
exactly
housing.
how to phrase, if it's workforce like nurses, police officers, teachers. It's probably just kind of a general income level.
Okay, and there will be some restrictions that will be in place for the people who purchase them and resale and things like that. So it's a nice opportunity for us to wade into that space, and it was approved 7-0.
So the individuals who came to our meeting that had questions and concerns about that, were they able to express their?
Some of them, I would say not all of them came. A couple people did come. There were questions about the width of the road and curbing, and there will be no parking on the east side of that smaller road. So they did address some of those, and a lot of those will be further addressed in the design phase.
Okay.
So, yes. And we will have our board and committee reports from our vice chair, Amy, and Ernesto. Who wants to go first? Ernesto, you go first. Since y'all would like
Dive in for it. Dive right in.
So I think the last time I reported was back in December.
Oh my goodness, yes.
So some of the boards and committees that I serve on did not meet during December. But I did get to attend the library board. There was a discussion about rising costs for a service that the library funds that was considerably rising faster than expected. And so we discussed the need to limit how much money goes towards that service that is provided by the library, because it would deplete any other funds if we didn't act on that. So
Is it a much-used service?
it is a popular service, and it's an online service.
Can we ask which service it is?
Yeah, it's called
I
Hoopla.
was wondering if it's Hoopla. I love Hoopla.
And so what,
It's like Hoopla, but it's an app that you can use your library card to log in, and you can get like movies and ebooks and audiobooks and digital. I use it for audiobooks all the time on my runs because then I can listen to.
Like pays per use for it,
Yeah.
which is a big change then.
Well, so it means I don't have to read. I can listen to it. I love Hoopla personally.
so it is not that it will not be available anymore, it's just that a limit will be set per person per library.
Library card.
My wife's
But it needed to happen, otherwise
costs.
people would probably not be able to use it. Some people, at some point during the month or maybe the year, maybe we would run out of funds for that. funds that are probably needed for other parts of the library.
Gotta balance it.
Maybe it's a good thing we added a little bit more.
So is
input to
it,
that.
they're just
Yeah.
going to limit, like, how many things you can check out on Hoopla? Is that the plan?
Yeah, I think per month.
Per month?
I think I was hearing probably 3 per month.
And there's
per
also a
library
limit.
card.
And there's also a limit, they capped a per use fee too. So if something was $8 for the library, those items are no longer going to be available through Hoopla. So keep in mind, it was what, $54,000 over budget.
Oh, my goodness.
Sorry, guys.
So
Popular service.
That's all Mike's fault, yeah.
Wow. That is a lot
I
of.
like my audiobooks.
it was
That is
fiscal
all.
responsibility on the part of
Yeah.
the board to have to make
Yeah.
that decision.
The
When
reason I don't have Audible, fiscal responsibility.
when initially planned to put in place, and I don't think anybody foresaw that it would become so popular and that the cost would add up very quickly. So,
Is there a possibility that they could charge people for it?
it's a good question.
You know, it's a free public library, so I think the decision, you know, well, you should speak, you guys are the board members, but again, just administratively, they'll continue the service, as you said, it will be available, there will just be a cap on the number of uses per user, so everybody has a chance to use it.
Does that cap start this month, next month?
Started
I'm just curious.
Started January 1st.
Yeah.
Really? Good thing I really only do 2 or 3 books a month.
You're gonna have to run less.
As part of the library, also,
Sorry.
the train display was a huge hit. There were 1,547 people that apparently filled out the, whatever it was, how they were tracking, how many people were visiting for that purpose. And then there is the library director search underway. I haven't heard that has been finalized.
We haven't finalized that yet.
Okay. So that is for the library board. For the youth council, tomorrow we are going down to the Capitol for Local Officials Day, and we are taking a group of 6 students from Logan High. And I think both the students and Amy and I are very excited, and also the volunteer from the high school. We're happy that this is happening, and Amy was able to set up some time with our local
And you said that's
representatives.
tomorrow?
Tomorrow.
Awesome.
And so
Yeah, can you give me a 6 o'clock wake-up call to make sure?
Yes, I'll set my phone.
Wow.
We're meeting with Senator Wilson and Representative Thompson.
Great.
Very cool.
Excellent.
That's cool.
we're also getting a tour of the Capitol, correct? Yeah.
And lunch.
And lunch, yeah. And thank you for the funds to pay for those registrations. It was actually pricier than expected, or at least expected by me, so, yeah.
But again, the high school, I mean, they just assigned an advisor. At one point, we thought we'd have to pay a stipend to that director of the program. So that turned out well. So we had the funds available to send the students down. So thank you to you 2 council members for spending your day to go down. We appreciate that.
Happy to do that. And then for public arts, there was a discussion. I was not able to attend the meeting, but I know that there was a discussion for a proposal for a funding program that they're bringing to the board. No decision was made, as I understand it, so it's an ongoing discussion. That's it.
Oh, you want me to go? Sure. RESAB met a couple weeks ago, but they met before we met. So what RESAB met about, we discussed 2 weeks ago. And then since then with RESAB, I've met with Tyson as well as a couple of the board members. He's the chair of RESAB to kind of discuss some opportunities and options going forward. And I'll continue to work with staff and mayor on those. But you guys all know about what RESAB met about. Audit committee has not met since last time, but they are meeting next week, and I'm very excited to spend an hour or so with the accountants. It's always very fun. BPAC met last week, I believe it was last week, 2 weeks ago. I was unfortunately unable to attend, but I did review their minutes. They did discuss bike week plans coming up for the summer. And then they're starting a first mile study with Connect Transit, and then they're looking at some grant
Do you
opportunities.
know when Bike Week is? That's
No,
okay.
It's May, is it?
I was just curious. So.
I think it's May.
That's okay.
It wasn't in the minutes.
It's gonna
I'll
be
let
May,
you-
June, July, August.
I'd say because
It's usually
the health department
April.
does.
The way they do it in May.
I say I think they do it in May, and then the health department's is in August, I think, but don't quote me on that. And then other meetings I've gone to in the past couple weeks. I did go to a Cache Trails Committee meeting, which is like Cache County's trail.
But we pay for part of the coordinator.
Do we? Didn't know that.
Don't we still pay?
Yeah, we still pay about
Yeah.
10,000, yeah.
I went to their meeting. They asked me to join the meeting and talk about some trail opportunities along Canyon Road. So I jumped online with them and talked about what's possible there and kind of what the city's been looking at. Obviously, nothing's committed yet, but
No decisions
they
have
want
been made.
someone there to be able to ask questions too. And so we talked through that briefly. And then Logan kicked off their general plan last week. Was it officially when it started? I went to 3 meetings last week, one with all of you, one with the public, and then a transportation-focused one last week, kind of talking about the next 20 years in Logan, which were...
How's the transportation one?
It was good.
Yeah.
Yeah, we talked about traffic, and
What else?
and all the exciting things with traffic. Paul's not even here to give him a hard time about, but no, it was really good. We went through, what we want to see and kind of some holes in what we're doing and how we can do better, which was great. And then this week I also went to, last week, I went to the Logan High Hope Squad lunch, which was fantastic. I think
it's
some
really-
of you, have all of you been to it? as well
I've
right
been
now?
to it. I went last
Yeah,
year.
it was fantastic. It was really good. That's their student community suicide prevention program and mental health program. Yeah, and it was great to meet with some of the students who are on that and kind of talk about what they do. And they feed you lunch and go the students. You break out into little groups and do presentations and role plays with them, and it was very cool. Some great students in that. And then, as Ernesto mentioned, we've been interviewing some library directors, so I went to a couple breakfasts with a couple options there, and those were great as well.
Cool.
That's my last month or so.
Amy?
So I'm new to the Parks and Rec Board this year, so we had our meeting last week, and there's a couple of things. One, they're already hiring for summer staff, so if you know of folks who are interested in working part-time for the summer, they're looking for the pool and the cemetery and
They have to be
parks.
how old?
16.
16?
Yes, but those positions are opening up. They're going to attend some job fairs at the local high schools as well. We kind of went just over a general review of all of the plans for 2025, all the projects that are going on, including the landfill park, which is
The Logan Outdoor
Maples-
Recreation Complex.
And Maple View.
Maple View Park. Sorry.
That's out to bid right now.
I'll remember, yes.
We'll call it the
that's-
work.
That's out to bid, so hopefully we'll have,
Park, but
there are some, it's delayed a little bit because of the landfill is not going to close as soon as it was going to, because we don't have as much stuff from the mall.
They recycle
so
They
much
recycle
concrete
so
on
much.
side.
Yeah. That saves everybody so much money.
Yes,
That's
it
such a
does.
great- that's so great.
But yeah, so we just kind of went over all the different plans. One of their concerns was just that I think, as was already stated today, there's been a lot of information floating around about the closure of the rec center. It is not closing as of July 1st, which I think for some people has been a thought with the dissolution of the agreement. So the rec center still will be open for 3 years.
to the public.
To the public, yes. But, students have priority use from 7:30 in the morning till 5:30 at night. As Mayor Daines mentioned, they do have 2 additional athletic teams now that they've had to add scheduling in for. Junior jazzes had to be completely reconfigured this year because of lack of access to the gyms. So as the school's programs have grown, it's become much more and more difficult for some of those programs to happen. But rest assured, they are in constant contact with the school district to make sure that existing programs can still continue. So it was a long meeting. It's longer than an hour. So I don't know. And Mike wasn't there to keep talking, so I'm not quite sure why it took so long. Anyway, public arts, Ernesto already mentioned, but yeah, there was discussion about how to continue to fund public arts without it just coming out of the Logan City budget. So whether or not new projects would have a required percentage, that would go towards public art. As mentioned, the library normally it would have met last night, but because of the Martin Luther King holiday, the next meeting will be next Monday. The Bear River Local Homeless Council, just a reminder to everybody that the point in time count, which happens nationally next Tuesday, is underway. Still, if people are interested in volunteering for that, teams of 2 or 3 will be going out starting at midnight on Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday night from midnight to 2, looking for individuals who are unhoused or in a place that's not fit for human habitation, conducting surveys. So if you're interested, please reach out. And Teresa, I'll give you the emails for the minutes, but it's jessica.lucero@usu.edu or crunhour, crunhaar@hotmail.com if you're interested in participating in that. The training occurred today, but it is available online for people who were not able to attend that today. And then I just, on a personal note, at our last meeting, we had so many individuals that came to express their opinion. Greatly appreciated the insight and the opinions. But I do want to just add, my thanks to Mark Montgomery and to Yushi Zhao and to you, Amps, for being here. I know in the heat of the moment, sometimes things are said. I just want to make sure I publicly acknowledge everything that they do for our city. Their job is to keep the power on, to keep us all in a place where we don't have to worry on a morning when it's -3 degrees that our house is not going to have heat. And I feel like there were some comments made that may have been a little bit more negative than I would have liked to have heard, but I do want to publicly acknowledge the great job that they do and appreciate their bringing us projects and ideas to make sure that they're meeting the needs
And
of
more
the city.
personal than they should have been.
Yeah, so I just wanted to throw that out there.
Interestingly enough, at the community portion of the general plan, I had people come up to me and ask me why we did not participate in the natural gas plant. So I think that there are varying opinions.
So anyway, those are my reports.
Thank you for that.
You're welcome.
I appreciate that. Anybody else have anything they'd like to say in regard to things going on?
Hey, I also got to attend the Connect ribbon cutting for what used to be Cache Valley Transit District. And it's, I think, a great facility that they built that will allow them to better maintain the fleet of buses that are now running in the valley.
Good. Yeah, I was unable to go to that, so I'm glad you were there. I'll be interested to see what happens to the old facility. But anyway, we'll move now to our action items. Our first action item is a Project Year 2025 Annual Action Plan. Initiation, Mike DeSimone. Hi.
No tie, sorry, disappointment.
You don't need one.
But
I
you
know.
do have a collared shirt on.
That's
I
true.
don't believe I've seen you with a tie
I
very
know.
often, if ever.
Ties are overrated, no offense.
Please and thank you.
Okay, so it's a new year, 2025. We start a new cycle for Community Development Block Grant, and what this is kind of the kickoff meeting, we're required to do it. It's a non-action item by the council. You can hold a public hearing on it, but we would solicit anybody that's got requests, ideas, to shoot us an email, send you guys an email, forward it on to us. But really, it's just an idea, process to go through to kind of tell the world we're starting the new year. So we are doing a new annual action plan. We do this every year. It's part of our 5-year plan that we adopted for 2024 to 2028. And in that plan, we had set some priorities. One was public infrastructure facilities, one was nonprofit service support, and then obviously planning, and then the admin side of it. So what we're asking, what we want people to give us input on is, what areas of the city should we look at? What kind of projects should we look at trying to accomplish? Are there specific services that are lacking that we could possibly help? Any kind of programs that need support? and are there specific groups of people who are in need of service? And the important thing to remember about this, it's geared towards income, right? It's designed to serve low to moderate income, which we have a large percentage of our population that fits into that category. So priority one is contribute to a suitable living environment. We've allocated a funding goal of 60%. So this is the non-glamorous, non-sexy stuff like sidewalks, ped crossings, and ADA corners. They're not super glamorous, but they do help a lot of people, not only for low, moderate areas, but also people that come to visit, people to get to work, people to move through the city, to go to parks, things like that. So they really have a long-lasting benefit for a lot of folks in the city. So they're not super exciting, but they do provide a lot of functionality. The second priority is improving the service capacity of community service providers. So 10% would go towards public facilities and 10% towards public services. And these are just funding goals. So you may realize over 5 years that we have helped job training initiatives more than anything else. So it's just, these are some basic things that we could look at helping to fund, but they have to meet certain criteria for us to get there. Third thing is admin and planning. We got to pay for somebody to do the work, and that's Amanda. And then we also have a small allocation that we can use towards planning. Here's the timeline. So we start our application process at the end of the month, runs for a full month. There's a workshop in February that Amanda will put on for anybody that's interested in it. It'll come to the steering committee, which is comprised of you folks, to look at kind of the suggestions, the applications. Then staff has a list of projects that we think are important. And then we get into the public comment period in April and May, and hopefully we're done sometime by mid-May.
Yeah. I know in the last couple of years we've had some applications that have come in that just didn't qualify, period, because of their ask. So what can we do to help, like, prevent that?
Well,
The workshop's really helpful. I think if
Right.
people would listen at the workshop, it wouldn't be
Right.
such a problem. But
there's certain things that we just can't fund. So there's certain things that we can't fund, like salaries and benefits. What we don't want to do is create an expectation that we're going to continually fund your program year after year by paying for part of a person.
I just feel like it's been unfortunate because people have come with really good, like, applications,
Right.
but they didn't understand the criteria, so they were asking for the wrong
Right.
thing. We had to say,
Yeah,
no,
we
sorry.
revamped the application itself, so it's pretty explicit on what we can and can't fund. The workshop, we go through what we can and can't fund, but we're constrained by federal law, what we can and can't fund, so.
And I get that. I just want them to understand that so they don't come and waste their time
Right.
putting an application in and then go, oh, sorry, we can't fund that. So.
And with that, any more questions?
Well, and I know too that because it is Logan City and Cache County both have funding, so individuals need to also be clear in their proposal that they're serving citizens of Logan, correct?
Yeah, we will fund things within Logan City. We can do things that have a benefit outside of Logan City, but then the funding is proportionate to the amount or the number of residents that we will fund who live in Logan City. So like we've helped the senior center before, but it's proportionate to other funding and then the kind of the percentages of use by residents versus non-residents.
Any other questions? This is a public hearing. If anyone has any comments they'd like to make, please come to the podium and state your name.
I'm Josh from Logan. Do you think that we could boost our funding for this if we weren't using public money to cater to a lot of this development? Like with the, what was it? I'm trying to think of the $500,000 that they gave to, what was that superstore on the west side? Costco, I think it was? Or what was that?
That was not CDBG money.
So
Okay.
this is specifically from a grant from the federal government, correct?
Oh, okay.
The
This is
amount is limited each year, and it's allocated based on population, and it's an appropriation.
It's a federal grant.
Oh, okay. All right. I'm sorry. I got a little
That's okay.
confused.
That's okay.
It's all,
Yeah, is
the
it-
finances are complicated.
Isn't it housing and urban development? It's a HUD, is it?
Yeah,
from
It's
HUD?
HUD.
Yeah.
So in theory, this may be jeopardized this year, or years to come, who knows, if the wind and Congress.
Yeah.
So.
Well, And again, given the way that we do our finances, we don't allocate or we don't spend any of the money until we actually have it in hand. So if the amounts were reduced by Congress, then we would just simply reduce the projects awarded.
Yeah, we expect about 560,000 for this cycle, but we won't know what the actual amount is until later this spring.
Okay. Is there
Is it-
anyone else who'd like to say anything? Sorry.
Public comment's still open, sorry.
Yep.
I apologize.
I'll bring it back to council if you'd like to make any other comments.
So this is my, I think, first time doing this? We did this last year.
Second time.
Second time.
Last year was a blur in January, let's be honest. I don't know what's happening.
Was a fire hose.
It was, still is some days. March 25th, this steering committee meeting, that's with us.
Yes.
Is that correct?
Right.
And is that looking at like specific projects that we're looking at
Yes.
doing? Okay, that's what I
That's when
thought.
we
Yeah, I'll reach
allocate.
out to you guys on the calendar sort of ready, so.
Okay.
And she
Is
sends the
that a regular?
applications out to you in advance, so you have time to read through all the applications.
You'll go through a rating and a ranking system to get to kind of the top. And then it's based on those priorities where we fund or what we fund. And typically with the infrastructure projects, we will fund the top few and then we'll have a couple that are called receiver
Receivers,
projects.
yeah.
So as funds come through the system and if we finish the project on the budget, then the rest of the money will flow to the next project that's available.
So will you remind me, Mike, of where our LMI neighborhoods are? Because I know Hillcrest often has, because of their area, median income.
Yeah, it's generally the older core neighborhoods, Adams, Bridger, Ellis, Wilson, portions of Woodruff. Hillcrest typically doesn't qualify unless we're doing like an ADA type of project, but then we can do it, as a citywide benefit. Yeah, so that's generally,
We did that with the park, right?
Yeah.
yeah, we've done
Yeah,
the
Western
park
Park
trail and
Western
also
Park.
done a couple of corners up there, ADA corners.
There have been some great projects we've been able to be a part of, so
Yeah,
I'm
and when you look at
pleased.
when you look at the list of areas that need sidewalks, there's a long, long list, and there's a lot of money that needs to go towards those. So just one little bit that you can add to a neighborhood, to get kids to school and parks and stuff.
Once upon a time, and we've done some sidewalks since, there was over 100 miles of sidewalk that was missing in the
Yeah.
city of Logan.
Well,
So,
there's only 50.
There's still a lot of sidewalk missing.
we might have gotten down to 85 miles missing. I don't know. But we try and chip away at it anyway.
Pack away, pack away.
And some of those projects have, like the one up on 6th East by the university has been really a boon for students walking to campus. and,
Right, yep.
That was a great one.
7th North.
That was a really
Yeah.
great project. It was difficult too. That was not an easy one for them
It
to
was
do.
hard, right. The one I wish we tried to fund once was doing some sort of curb gutter and sidewalk on Canyon Road from 6th East to Center Street. But we haven't been able to do that
We've
yet.
actually talked about that, and so a couple of years ago, we started funding that, but we had to do some engineering on it and realized the cost was gonna be pretty prohibitive. So there's a wall we have to build where the canal is. It's still on the table, though, to have some kind of multi-use trail from the Dugway down to Center Street. And, whether that's part of the bigger project, we're still kind of.
Yeah, it'd be
thinking that through
nice.
out loud.
It'd be really
That'd be a
nice.
good one to have, yeah.
But anyway, that's just my comment. Anybody else have any comments?
No. I move for approval.
There's no movement.
Oh, no, have to?
We don't move.
No action.
No voting. Okay, no action.
You don't,
Dang it.
you don't
Keep
get
your
to-
actions to yourself.
Well, it says action item. It says action item right there, so
Just the public hearing.
fine. You guys are no fun.
Thanks, Mike. Appreciate it.
Mark's one chance to make a motion.
I know. I was like so excited tonight to do something.
Our
Without being
second public hearing of the evening is a series of budget adjustments, and I'll turn the time over to Rich.
6 items to consider, 4 of them are grants. I'll try to point out the other 2. $11,961 police department grant from the state of Utah for our police equipment, JAG funds. 2.892660, so $2.8 million grant from the EPA for the green waste facility. $48,417, this is a request to appropriate EMS funds that were received from a damaged called Power Cot, used in our ambulances. The request is to appropriate those funds that we received as a reimbursement back toward that same equipment replacement. $117,590, a grant the electric department received for vehicle charging stations. $108,893. This is the remainder of the 911 revenue sharing grant that we receive each year from the state of Utah. In total, about $175,000 restricted for EMS use. And lastly, a request to appropriate $12,900 of golf course reserves toward the installation and replacement of netting at the golf course. A bunch needs to be replaced, some needs to be added. $12,900.
Wow, you almost missed that net. It says toward net installation. And I was like, and you said installation and replacement of the net. I was like, where is it?
I'm pretty sure it was Craig that put the hole in the net that we need to repair, so.
Again, we don't, we occasionally get claims from golf balls hitting cars, getting it, making them,
Yes,
breaking a
that's
windshield,
not
so
good.
we try to be cautious about that.
We need more nets. That's all I'm saying.
Because he's going to golf more.
Yes,
So,
more nets.
anybody have any other questions or concerns before I open it up to the public?
I'm assuming golf reserves still look good after pulling 13,000 out.
Ultimately, we have far more needs than we have reserves.
Sure.
Ultimately, the irrigation system is a $4 million charge hanging over our heads. However, the fact that we have reserves is super great, and there are projects we're going to have to do in the interim as we're saving for some of those larger ones, and this is one. It's just,
But you're comfortable with it?
I am.
Okay.
The vehicle charging equipment, where is it going to be located, or?
I believe that is when we did center block, when we did the plaza and redid the eastern portion of the parking lot, we put conduit in intending to put some fast chargers in center block parking lot. They'll be just to the west of the mid-block sidewalk. So we applied for some grant funding for that, and the conduit's in, so this hopefully will, pay for the chargers and the equipment.
Oh, that's
So I don't know what the
How many do you
schedule
know?
is. I think just two.
Good start.
Again, at one point, we'd been talking with Rivian, who was putting in, free chargers if you provided the property, but that went away. They lost interest. But
It
we,
was more expensive than they anticipated, perhaps.
somebody, anyway.
These chargers, people would still be paying.
Right, they would be on again, you have to swipe a credit card. And we'll need to come up with some signage to make sure that, people don't just park there unless they're charging and that there's a time limit. But we really don't have any fast chargers downtown. And, for people coming through or resident, again, usually if you're a resident, you charge in your own garage overnight, but.
Yeah, there's zero fast
Yeah,
chargers.
there's
You have to be in
no-
Brigham City to get one. We need Walmarts here to put them in, because Walmarts have them in a lot of their other locations. We need to
Well, and-
lobby them to
Or
put them in.
Costco.
And UDOT is
Costco doesn't,
partnering.
but Walmart has them at a lot. Walmart
Yeah.
stands are where you go for Charge America ports.
And UDOT's partnering with the state to kind of do this charging network along I-15. We actually applied, and I got the Visitors Bureau involved saying, look, we're a route to like Jackson and Yellowstone. We really should have one here. But they said, well, you can apply in phase 2. Phase 1 is only along I-15. And I did get an email yesterday saying they've decided to do one in Tremont as part of this whole charging network. So, but that's, like I say, state and federally funded. It is funded, as
It's
I
still a
understand.
long way from Tremont to Jackson,
Yeah, or even,
and there's no charging in between.
so.
So,
Or very deep.
Pack light.
this is a public hearing. If there are any members of the public who wish to speak to this, please come to the podium, state your name, and tell us what you want to tell us. Seeing no one, I'll bring it back to the council for a decision.
I'll move we approve resolution 25-02.
I'll second the motion.
That's my chance.
It was-
Took my chance.
It's been moved and seconded. Is there any further discussion other than
Heckling.
back and forth?
Heckle.
All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. We'll move now to our workshop items. Rich, you're up again.
Just a request to appropriate $24,500 from the sale of a brush truck to be used toward replacement fire equipment. The idea is we're actually consolidating some of our equipment. This is the chief's idea. And allowing us to reuse these funds will help them consolidate equipment, which is, I think,
Enlighten us, what is a brush truck?
it's a truck that drives in the brush.
It goes up to,
For wildland
like,
fires.
say, the park up at, up above Mountain Road, the Harris Nature Preserve. So there's a big gate, so vehicles can't go up it, but if they had to fight a fire up there, then they could open that gate and a brush truck could go up, or, above Lundstrom Park, basically areas where you're gonna have to fight fires in an off-road situation.
Okay.
It's more like an F-250 with a small water tank.
Okay.
Ish.
So they're not replacing it, they're just consolidating equipment. Good call.
Any other questions? Now we're gonna let Tyler come up. It's his first official presentation to us. Well, he'll get to do it
No, he's
twice.
done other presentations.
Yeah, he's done
for us.
presentations.
Official, as the director.
As the director, okay.
Yes.
So this is a continuation of the multifamily impact fee for wastewater treatment. So back 2018, when we built the water treatment plant, we had to go for additional bonding for $20 million. As part of that, the state required us to implement impact fees, which we did in 2019. Since then, there's been some discrepancies and confusion between all the contributing cities on what constitutes the non-standard use or the multifamily use, or if we need to apply the standard 2433 residential on multifamily impacts to the water treatment plant. So we, through the discussion of last year, we just hired what is their name now? Lewis Roberts in Birmingham to relook at our impact fee for multifamily. So in the initial impact fee, part of the $162 million that we spent for the treatment facility, $38 million of that was eligible for impact fee reimbursement. So this is money we've already spent on the treatment plant. That portion is eligible to be repaid by impact fees. It's pretty much industry standard or typical that a multifamily dwelling unit does not use as much water as a residential unit.
Really? They don't, but they flush more.
They don't have a lawn.
Because they don't have a lawn, right?
Yeah.
So this takes
And
out,
probably
so
less
water
people.
treatment takes out the lawn portion. So we do sewer treatment, nothing's coming, if you water your lawn, that's already taken out.
Okay.
And so, based on what Paul's done with the engineering department there, that Hell's Engineering did a study for a single-family water use, and you can see this table.
Can you? Oh, that's fair.
Yeah, there we go.
It's like my eyes aren't that good. Thank you.
So this is winter use, so this takes out the summertime use. This is in your packet. So usually we're about 70% less on impact, or
From a multifamily unit to a single family
you
unit
compare
on just wastewater.
multifamily to single family unit. So
Is that less people per unit? Is
typically
that
that's what it was. A smaller apartment, you usually have less.
One or
drivers.
two people
One
instead
or
of
two versus 3.5,
6 or 7.
4.
okay?
So a fourplex
Not combining flushes. Got it.
That's interesting.
by itself, an entire fourplex uses less,
No, each unit.
Each unit.
Per door.
oh, I'm
Per
sorry.
unit.
So
I was
this
like,
is, so, and this is where kind of some of the confusion was, is a lot of those fourplexes or apartment buildings, they have a large meter, and so they were charging impact fees based on meter size and estimated use, which is usually meant for non-standard users or commercial or industrial businesses to convert that to an ERU, a residential unit.
Which they're going to use more water.
Yes.
The commercial is.
And so they've come up with this 70% reduction. What that does is it reduces the standard residential impact fee from 2433 by 70%. So the multifamily, for a multifamily unit, per unit would be 1703.
So you're reducing the impact fee.
This is a reduction of that impact fee for multifamily units.
And one other reason that's driving this, when we started, I mean, Logan had multifamily, but some of the other smaller communities didn't allow multifamily. And they've now moved to that with, the change in focus on housing. And so as they implemented their own impact fee, some of the communities were different per door and multifamily, and it just made sense to everyone that every multifamily has kind of the same charge. So that was part of the standardization that they went through.
And so this is kind of the key paragraph right in here. So it defines multifamily as any type of duplex, triplex, regardless of how it's owned, side-by-side stack. So these are broad but specific to multifamily units. So this would be charged per door instead of 2433.
Per door, you bring it in.
Yes.
Multifamily refers to a residential dwelling unit that consists of duplex and all other dwelling units that are individually or jointly water metered and not classified as residential. Oh, so that just means single family?
And that's what the amendment in the ordinance says, is single family.
Okay, because it makes it sound like it's, okay. Because duplex, triplex, and all those would be residential. That's why.
And these impact fees are only charged when you're building a multifamily.
Yeah, it's a new construction.
New construction.
One time.
Yeah, it's
And I mean,
thought so. It was
so
just clarifying.
it does decrease the impact feasible per light, but it is proportionate to the water they use, so.
So it's more fair.
Correct.
Okay.
And some of the impact fees on these large developments is quite substantial.
Yeah.
Yes.
And that gets passed on to the citizens and future homeowners or renters, so.
Yeah.
So we're going to make them required to pass on that $700 savings to. I'm kidding. I don't think we can even legally do that. I'm kidding.
We would hope that.
We would hope they would, but.
Okay. Any other questions, Tyler?
So this will come back before you, the next couple meetings for public hearings. The next public hearing is about the facilities plan. The facilities plan is the same as the original plan. It's still that $162 million of the original plan that we built, so there's no change to that. Then it'd be up for adoption.
So you'll be back in 2 weeks?
I guess. I got a standing invite, so I guess.
That's right.
Better watch out. I might have you do the opening.
Yeah.
It conflicts with dinner time, so I might.
I think that's a great idea. Yeah. Great idea.
Thank you, Tyler.
Thanks, Tyler.
Are there other considerations? I do have one.
I have one, two,
Okay.
but you can go first.
No, you go first.
There's 3 neighborhood meetings in the next 2 weeks.
Oh, you took mine.
I figured it was the same, that's why I was going to let you go. Ellis Neighborhood is meeting on the 28th of January at 6 p.m. Is that
I thought it
correct?
was 5:30.
I was told you had to be there at 5:30, everybody else was 6.
Oh, okay.
That's what I was told
Okay.
Did you say the 28th?
by your
Yep.
chair. Yeah, the 28th at 6 p.m. And I believe that's at Ellis Elementary.
Yes, it is.
Woodruff is meeting on the 30th of January, so 2 days later. I believe I have in my calendar as 6, but my brain's saying 7. Does anyone know for sure? Let me check my email. Sorry. I swear it was at 7, but no, 6 o'clock. Sorry, 6 o'clock on January 30th at Woodruff Elementary. This is their meeting with Willow Lakes, and this is the required step that Willow Lakes has to do to have a public neighborhood meeting before they can go back to Planning Commission.
Right. For the overlay.
Yep, for the PDO. And then on February 5th, which is a week and a half from tomorrow, 2 weeks from tomorrow, Wilson Neighborhood is having a neighborhood meeting. I have my calendar at 5:30 at Wilson Elementary.
Excellent. I don't have any other things to add.
Adams is having a board meeting, which I will be attending.
On February
That's-
5th.
Yeah, but that's for the.
At 7.
That's for their board, yeah.
Have you talked to Paul Lindhart about that meeting?
I have not.
He's planning on sending some staff to discuss the 500 North bike lanes.
Okay.
It might be worth touching base with him just to,
Okay.
I'll be at the Wilson.
So-
'cause that's
So I
nice.
do know that, that Sue, as the chair of Ellis, has divided her neighborhood up into blocks, and she has 38 block captains out of
Wow.
44 blocks.
Oh my gosh, that's amazing.
And so we're anxious to implement or try the take-home packet for the general plan.
Oh,
Nice.
yeah.
And give it to the different block captains and see if they can arrange meeting with their block and having a discussion based on those take-home packets.
We talked about that extensively on the mayor's radio program last week, so
Oh,
it was fun, thank you.
Good, thanks for filling in.
Had a good time.
And on that front, I know up in Hillcrest, Katie Leakoven is hoping that somebody else will want to come and lead out
As neighborhood chair.
as neighborhood chair. So if folks that live up in that area.
She's done it
are
for quite a few
interested,
years.
She's been doing it, I think, for 4 years.
Yeah, it's quite a while.
So,
So if you're in Hillcrest and want to be the neighborhood chair,
great.
reach out to Mayor Danes. Is
So
that correct?
are there any other considerations or emotional outbursts?
I'm sure I can come up with one.
We are adjourned.
Peaceful 7, awesome.
I'll go shopping because Ellen won't be expecting me to.